The movie scene I chose was from King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, in which Guy Ritchie, the director, puts an interesting twist on the typical Arthurian legend. In this story, our young protagonist, Arthur, barely manages to escape the clutches of his uncle Vortigern due to the efforts of his parents before they are killed. This child, Arthur, is then found by the docks of a fishing wharf and raised as an orphan in the city of Londinium, where he crafts a character for himself, and, molded by the streets, he eventually runs the underground black market of the city. This gives confidence to our protagonist, which also gives him charismatic composure, which compels the audience to him when he pulls the sword from stone and pits himself against his tyrannical uncle. This scene that we are about to see highlights the protagonist's exposure to a new and dangerous world he himself hasn't yet encountered and furthers the plot through giving the audience more perspective and depth to our main character. The first shot of our scene is of Arthur, Charlie Hunnam, standing amongst the crowd. Here, the cinematographer chooses a bright white jacket for our character, showing a stark contrast between him and the surrounding people, guards, and place setting. This represents a beacon of hope for the people because he is the savior from all the darkness and dreariness that seems to be all encompassing. Arthur then makes his way up to the sword, and in this brilliant cameo of David Beckham, we see his cockiness and arrogance emerge, and they center around the world he's created for himself in Londinium. Eventually, we get to the sword, where the camera cranes up above the sword, but then quickly cuts down to a low shot of Arthur, with some ominous thunder rolling in the background, which gives foreshadowing and dramatic irony to the scene. After the flash, when Arthur touches the sword, the cinematographer dulls the surrounding sounds and setting, save the dog's barking to give a more surreal experience. And for the first time in the entire scene, the audience understands how Arthur feels, and we get to see and feel his unsure and inconfidence in his abilities. After Arthur is directed to pull out the sword again, the director chooses a low-angle shot that focuses on Arthur's hands clasped around the hilt. This shows an indication of a transfer of power. The camera cuts to a zoomed-out shot and focuses on some pebbles on a nearby overlook. We then cut to Vortigern standing in a similar position to Arthur and wearing a white animal fur, creating a foil in comparison and contrast between the two characters. However, Vortigern is wearing black underneath his fur, which heralds to the saying, "a wolf in sheep's clothing," giving the appearance that he is not what he is at least attempting to be. And in this way, Arthur's coat and the furs that Vortigern wears create many foils between the two characters throughout the scene and the story as a whole.
Oh, brother dear, let my bed